Well, SBS reporter Manny Tsigas is in the southwestern Sydney suburb of Lakemba, the electorate of Watson, where thousands of people are in the street celebrating with their iftar feasts. Manny, there's been a significant move away from the Liberal government in that part of the city.
That's right, Janice. As with any election, of course, today's results have been historic, but for other people, it's historic for a number of different reasons. A lot of people have cast their first ballot in a federal election ever, and I actually have two of them here with me. So this is Asha and Abhilash Nair, who came to Australia from India in 2010, and today they've taken part in their first ever federal election. Thank you both very much for joining me tonight. So, Asha, if I could start by asking you, what is voting in an Australian election, how does that compare to voting in one back in India?
What I found different in this election, or rather because this is my first time in this election, what I found different is the ballot papers. Unlike in India, here you have a very long list of the parties in the ballot paper, and you need to choose a number from 1 to 6 and so forth. Unlike in India, you don't have that system. You have electronic voting system. So that's what I found a very vast difference out the elections here. You know.
Now, Abhilash, this campaign that's taken place in Australia is one of the longest in its history. Yep. But despite its length, a lot of people are still calling it quite bland and quite boring. What's a campaign in India like compared to what it's been in Australia?
During elections in India, the campaign is really big. It's there's a lot of people on the streets. There's a lot of gatherings. It's a big event in India, especially when you have elections and all. People come out they take their cars and all. There is car rallies, a lot of crowd. People go to their houses and all and ask for elections. For voting and also. And it's just not 8 weeks, like it's months and months and all. Long big hoardings and all on the streets. So it's fun.
So a lot more campaigning, a lot more sort of street scenes and rallies and that sort of thing?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and now, you don't necessarily have to tell me which party you decided to go with, but when you were making your decision on which party to vote for, which issues stood out most for you both?
For us, it was mostly to do with the party which took care of the Medicare and the education system. So for us, because we're young families and we have to look out for our future, so we actually went with a party that would give better benefits in terms of Medicare and educational system.
And Abhilash, how about you?
Well, the party which controls the prices, especially the property prices and all, it's booming in Sydney. And of course, what Asha said about Medicare and education.
Thank you both very much for coming out. It's a very cold night, so thanks for your patience this evening.
Thank you.
And so those are two first-time voters who cast their first ballot ever in a federal election here in Australia, and may there be many more. Janice, Kath, back to you.
Thank you, Manny. Really interesting to hear what some first-time voters are interested in as well. Let's now return to SBS reporter Manny Tsigas in the southwest Sydney suburb of Lakemba. Manny, take us through some of the results we're seeing in New South Wales.
Well, as you heard earlier from Kath, the big story tonight seems to be from Eden Monero. Now, it's a seat that's been held by every party that's been forming government since 1972. And incumbent Liberal MP Peter Hendy has been facing a lot of opposition from within his party due to his role in the ousting of Tony Abbott. Now, that seems to have been reflected in today's vote, with the ballot swinging in favour of Labor's Mike Kelly, who previously held the seat. Earlier tonight, Mr Kelly said that tonight's result is definitely a backlash against his opponent. Here's what he had to say.
There's no doubt about that. I had so many Liberal Party people, approaching me saying, for the first time in their lives and even generations, they were going to vote Labor, purely on the back of their disappointment about that coup. I really feel for them having to make that jump, and really, with the success here tonight, my commitment to them is to be worthy of that vote.
Now, next is the seat of Macarthur, which, thanks to a boundary redistribution, nearly halved in size, and it lost quite a lot of its Liberal support in the process. Now, the margin for the Liberal MP Russell Matheson was slashed from 11% to just a little over 3%, and tonight Labor Mark Freelander has enjoyed a huge swing in favour of Labor of more than 15%. Now, then there's the seat of Macquarie, which was unchanged by the redistribution, but it's been represented by Liberal MP Louise Marcus since 2010, after she previously served as the member for another New South Wales seat, Greenway. but now Labor's Susan Templeman looks set to take hold of that seat as well. Now, meanwhile, Labor's Linda Burney has made the leap from state politics to federal politics, and she's claimed the seat of Barton here in Sydney, and she has also become the first Indigenous woman to enter the House of Representatives. So some major changes to its boundaries saw that its strongest Liberal support was basically wiped out, and tonight Ms Burney said that Barton was firmly back in the hands of Labor. Here's what she had to say.
We have created history tonight in Barton for Aboriginal people and for women, the first Indigenous woman into the House of Representatives. Not my achievement, but the achievement of people around me, and the excitement that's in Barton about doing that has been palpable over the last couple of weeks.
And finally, just to mention of the seat of Warringah, which is of course held by former Prime Minister Tony Abbott. Now that was expected to have a swing against him, but it's come back quite a lot lower than what was originally expected. It's come back at about 2.5%. Obviously, the former Australian Idol host James Matheson throwing his hat into the ring there, trying to appeal to youth voters and trying to paint a picture of Mr Abbott as being complacent. But Mr Abbott has held on to that seat. Here's what he had to say a little earlier tonight.
Warringah is still a very strong Liberal seat.
So those are the main seats that have gone either way here in New South Wales. Obviously, nearly half of the marginal seats that have been contested in this election have been decided here in New South Wales, and no doubt it paints a very different picture here and throughout the country. Janice, Kath, back to you.
Thank you, Manny Tsigas, crunching the numbers there for us in New South Wales.